Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why some ideas just pop into your head, while others feel like pulling teeth to find? Well, this new study dives deep into how our brains search for words and ideas, and how things like creativity play a role. This study is all about how we search through our mental filing cabinet, our semantic memory. Think of it like searching for information online. Sometimes a search term brings up tons of results immediately, and other times you have to really dig and try different keywords to find what you are looking for. The researchers in this paper wanted to see how different kinds of search queries or categories affect how easily we find words. And if creative people are better at navigating these searches, especially when the categories are a bit fuzzy. So, how did they test this? They used something called a verbal fluency task. You've probably done these before. Someone gives you a category like name all the animals you can think of in 3 minutes. The researchers had about 266 university students do a similar task. But with different kinds of categories, they weren't just looking at how many words people could say, which is what is normally measured. Instead, they used some really cool computer-based tools to look at how people searched through their memories. They use metrics like forward flow, which measures how far apart your ideas are spaced out. If your ideas are all super close together, that is low forward flow, like staying in the same neighborhood. High forward flow means you are jumping around more, exploring different areas of your semantic memory. They also looked at divergent semantic integration, or DSI, which measures the overall spread of your ideas. Think of it as the size of the area you are exploring. Then there is atypicality, which is basically a measure of how unusual your answers are compared to what most people would say. And finally, entropy, which is a way to measure the uncertainty or unpredictability of what word might come next. So they got a really detailed picture of not just how many words people generated, but how they generated them. The big twist here is that they used different types of categories. And these categories varied in how coherent they were. Coherence just means how clearly the items in a category are related. They had really coherent categories, like animals or fruits. These are taxonomic categories based on shared features. Then they had thematic categories, like items associated with a party. These are related by context or how they're used together. They also had goal-derived categories, like items you would remove from a house in case of a fire. These are categories created for a specific purpose. And finally, relational categories, like barriers, where the relationship between items is more abstract. And here is what they found. When it came to just naming words, the more coherent categories, the taxonomic ones like animals, gave people the most results. This makes sense, right? It is easier to think of animals when you have a clear category label. But when they looked at the exploration metrics like forward flow and DSI, things got really interesting. These metrics, which measure how much people spread out and explore their semantic memory, actually peaked for the intermediate coherence categories like thematic and goal-derived prompts. So, what does this sweet spot for exploration mean? The researchers suggested is like a Goldilocks principle for creativity. Too much structure can be limiting, like having a search engine that only gives you exactly what you asked for and nothing else. Too little structure and you don't have enough of a starting point, making it hard to even begin searching, like a blank search bar. But a bit of structure, just enough to give you a direction without being overly restrictive, seems to unlock the most creative exploration. It helps you find new and interesting connections. Now, what about creativity? They measured creativity using a task called the alternate uses task, where people list creative uses for everyday objects. They found that generally more creative people produced more words and also showed more exploration in their semantic search, meaning higher forward flow and DSI. This suggests that creativity isn't just about having lots of ideas, but about how you search for them. Interestingly, when they controlled for the total number of words people said, which is fluency, they found that creativity actually did have a stronger influence, especially in those less structured categories like goal-derived prompts. This hints that when you are not just looking at quantity, but the quality and diversity of ideas, creativity really shines, particularly when there are fewer preset boundaries. It is like creative individuals are better at navigating uncertainty and finding novel connections when the path isn't so clearly laid out. So, what is the big takeaway? Our brains are pretty adaptable. We adjust how we search for words and ideas based on the cues we're given. Clear, structured categories make it easy to recall a lot of items quickly, but less structured ones, not too loose and not too tight, seem to be the prime territory for creative exploration. They provide just enough guidance to get us started without overly limiting where we can go. And creativity, it seems, is a general asset that helps us explore more broadly and smoothly through our semantic memory. It is less about being magically better in the most abstract or unstructured situations, and more about having a general advantage in navigating the landscape of our thoughts. What is really cool is how this connects to theories about creativity. It suggests that creativity isn't just about having a lot of knowledge, but about how flexibly and efficiently you can access and combine that knowledge. The idea of an optimal constraints model, where a certain level of structure is best for creativity, seems to hold up. It's like having a map that shows you the main roads but also leaves a lot of interesting side streets to discover. Now, like any study, this one has its limitations. The researchers themselves point out that their findings are correlational. This means they found a link between creativity and how people search memory, but they can't definitively say that creativity causes these specific search patterns. Also, verbal fluency tasks are quite goal-directed and time-limited, so they might not capture all aspects of free-flowing thought. Future research could explore these patterns in more spontaneous idea generation tasks. They also mentioned that the specific tools they use, like the embedding models, are powerful but could be explored with different settings to see if the results hold up. Ultimately, this study offers a fantastic look into how we search our minds. It tells us that the context matters, the type of category we're given really shapes our retrieval. It also highlights how individual traits like creativity can give us an edge in exploring our semantic landscape more effectively. It is a reminder that thinking and creating are not just about what we know, but how we connect and explore the knowledge we have. What do you think about these findings? Does it make sense that sometimes a little bit of structure is better for creativity? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the mind, be sure to like this video and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more explorations into psychology. We'll see you in the next one.